Now, like every day lately, this thing was dependent on weather to some degree, dependent on family interruptions, things I had to take care of around the house, chopping pond ice, and the biggest thing of all, I wanted to show one of the ways, beside of course Photoshop, one of the ways that I have been able to lay out model airplane and motorcycle paint jobs that, well, you have a lot of flexibility as laying them out, looking at them ahead of time before you actually go and do the paint work. Now, Photoshop is always choice one. This is always the backup way, but I wanted to show it on one of the videos. Today's a good day to show it. So this is last night. We were expecting snow. It's supposed to turn to rain, so probably by the time I wake up, there'll be nothing. But that'll save me some time, more time to work in the garage tomorrow. But I had a chance here to try the new night scene feature. I've never used it. I just wanted to see how this would work. This is the snow from last night. When we wake up tomorrow morning, probably won't be anything but rain. So last night when I went to bed, and you can't make this stuff up, they had predicted snow all night, big snow. I was getting all set to cancel today's work on a bike and maybe be shoveling snow or whatever. But you know what? We woke up this morning. It rained all night. A warm air came in, so it means we're going to work on a Fender today. And what I'm going to try to share on the video is some of the ways that I've been able to mock up. Now, there's a really good way with Photoshop, and John has been very generous about helping me. But I wanted to show the alternative way I do it when I don't have access to Photoshop, and I want to see it in real life. I can actually, the sun is shining already, and I hope it shines all day. I can get a look at what this is going to look like in real life. I'm going to take some blue tape out to the garage, and I'm going to basically lay out the tape where I think the blue should be, see if I like it, look at it from 10 different angles. If I like it, take the fender off the bike, maybe even get some of the painting done today. I don't know. It looks like an unpredictable day. They predict snow. It's good. I should quit while I'm ahead. Now, of course, one way I've been able to envision things is just by having John take this picture and Photoshop in the fender blue, or this part blue, or the little frame. I still can't believe how good the tail section looks. It changed the whole bike. But anyway, we're looking to do something on a fender, on this front part of the fender. And what I want to do is lay it out. I had originally thought a stripe that matched the tank stripe would be a good choice. When I looked at it, I don't know. And then I want to see some from the side view. See, this looks kind of bland up in the front here compared to the rest of the bike. And I want to get some blue up there, but I don't know exactly what. And as the second choice is when the job is all done, I'm going to paint any paint I have left over. I can paint the old fender totally blue and then be able to switch that out on an evil twin day. So while I'm outside laying out this fender stripe or fender paint, boy, the house is smelling like, that looks really good. So tell me what it is. I don't know what it is.
Come on, look at it. They're spirits.
I know what it is.
Spirits
it looks,
and string beans.
and this is what keeps you alive, and this is what shortens your life. So this adds a year to your life. This takes a year off your life. Do I win this day? I don't know. Oh yeah, that'll give me something to think about while I'm outside. One more cup of coffee because it is still pretty cold out there. An extra cup of coffee will warm it up. So as I'm walking out to the garage, it isn't raining now, but it doesn't look like we're going to have any luck painting today because it's supposed to rain all afternoon. Now, I usually start off my video in the garage, but today was an exceptional thing. We had that crazy snow last night. I really got out of sorts here. But anyway, it's nice enough outside. The sun may come out. I may be able to paint. It may go back to snowing or raining. But in the meantime, here's what I wanted to do, and it's something I've been able to do with John's help. I got to envision how this would look with the windshield blue, with the side pieces. But I wanted to show the method that's alternative to that for people that don't have access to Photoshop. So I brought out my blue tape and some razor blades, and I wanted to lay out what I want to do. See, what I want to do is get some blue up by the front of the bike. The bike, when you look at it on the computer, you look at it from the side, the front looks like it needs something. Now, of course, that's all subjective, and there's people that don't care. People just say, oh, I'd rather have a loud exhaust on my bike. Well, I like the bike to be a piece of rolling artwork if possible. And it's not out of my grasp, and it's certainly not expensive to do this, just a lot of work. So when I saw how the tail section changed the bike, the look of the bike, and what happens, all those flat black pieces being blue now, they jump right out at you. And I just think that it changed the look, the styling, and especially the look when you're riding behind a bike. I parked it out in the driveway and I was looking at it from how you would see it if you were riding behind somebody going through the twisties. It's 100 times better. And it was a couple days work, and you know, whatever amount of money, the money is irrelevant relative to the labor. So I got the tape. I want to lay this out in a couple different ways. If it's not raining, run outside, shoot some pictures, go down, look in the computer, and at some point today make a decision what I want to do with this front fender for the MT09. Now, a small example, when we got this bike, Rob and I were partners on it in the very beginning, the front fender was flat black. And I used to look at it every day and say, oh God, just painting the front fender made it so much nicer. Now, and in this case, every time I painted something shiny that was flat black, I liked it a lot more. Subjective, but that's me. I like shiny stuff, and I definitely don't like flat black. Now, as a nice thing, is this shape here, from an artistic point of view, is mirrored in this. If you look at that shape and that shape are kind of similar, so maybe just, and I'd like to be able to see the blue from the side. I don't really care about the front, but from the side, when I'm looking at the bike, if you look at this right now, of course the wheels are going to be silver, there's no blue up here. It just looks like this doesn't belong here. Well, so I'm going to lay that out again in a couple different ways. And every time I painted something, this part, that part, the tail section more than anything else. This tail, it looked like, it looked, I don't know, I didn't even notice it. It'd be, that thing was flat white and flat gray. Now when I look at it, it's added a nice look to the bike. And it looks good from a lot of different angles. It's just, to me, that's amazing. And the little screen in there, you never even saw the screen before. So I know what Yamaha was thinking. By not painting it, they saved a couple dollars on each bike, and it is a low-end bike, but we're going to make it a little bit nicer than a low-end bike. And that, I love the way that screening came out in there. The whole tail section, when you look from the back, you see the scoops like you would see on other high-end bikes that have real fancy tail sections. And the funny thing is that those parts came with the bike. They just didn't come painted. So shame on Yamaha. So one of my original thoughts was this is a defining thing of the MT09, the way they have this logo, which I really don't, it doesn't really, I don't think it's the best one in the world, but it is the one that belongs on this bike. So we're still trying to mirror image something up there that's reverse flipped, and I still don't know about that. The jury's out. But I had thought the way this mirror images up, what would be good, and it's always good from a design point of view and from designing airplanes for all those years, that if it gets reflected in here, and the fact that this piece has a very similar shape, and right there is where I want to see some blue. Now picture the wheels are going to be silver, this is going to be blue, the fender will still be carbon, and then I'll still have the choice with the other fender of having an all blue fender. So I've got a lot of choices. I just don't know which one I want. Not yet, anyway. So the first thing I want to do is with a little simple green, just make it a little bit easier for the tape to stick. Even though it's really cold out here, I know the tape is still going to have a problem. Now, in all the years that I've been painting, and it's over 50 years, it may be over 60, I don't know, I have laid out a lot of tape in my life. I've used a lot of tape, and this is a good method. I've always looked at, well, how would that look? How would a stripe here look? How would that look? And you can see what I'm doing. There's no commitment here. If I don't like this, or I want to change the shape, or make it fatter, wider, skinnier, just pull the tape off and start off. Now the tape isn't, of course, an exact match to the paint, but that gives me some idea. From this view, the side view, I want to see some blue. You know, from the front, I don't really care, because you're going to see the top parts anyway. And yeah, I kind of like the way that looks, to be honest. Now, I had thought of doing this whole side of the fender, and I thought, it was just overkill. I like a little subtle touch like that, but I don't want to paint. John did this on Photoshop already, and I didn't like the way it looked at all. So I like the way it's shiny, flat, shiny, and this is carbon, blue, and it'll be silver wheels. I think that's that's going to be, well, that's choice one right now. So I don't know how the weather is going to play out, but the next thing is I want to take the fender off the bike. So there are some clips, and it's a little bit snippy getting it in there. And I do remember from replacing the fender, yeah, it was a little bit tedious getting it off, but certainly not a big deal. But the fact that that mirror images that, anybody that's gone to art school knows if you can get that shape and that shape together, just like on a model plane, if the wingtips match the tail, it's kind of nice. I think that's gonna, and I want to look from this angle here, having some blue up there, and that tail section. Wow, did that change? The artist in me is saying, wow, why didn't Yamaha do that? So I think that's going to be exactly what I want right there. Now I actually like the look from the front because you see these angled areas and then you see a blue area. So there's a lot going on here, a lot of, as Karen says, a lot of angles. And of course she's just as good as it gets. I made her come out here and take a look at it and she said go for it. As soon as she gives me the approval, I'm ready to go. The weather's tentative. I don't know how much of this we're going to get done. But of course getting the front fender off and getting it downstairs and getting it all prepped up, even if this turns out to be a no painting day, I'll have that ready to go for the next painting day. Now I do remember taking this off the first time and I'm breaking my fingernails here, so I'm trying all of these clips and have a little like teeth on them. So if you can, once I get this apart, I'll show this. Once you get the teeth off, you can pull the cables out conveniently. I don't know if you can see there's little teeth on here, and so that kind of snaps together. It's a nice way to do it because then the brake line is mounted in a real rubber biscuit. But they're all little teeth, and in the beginning I couldn't get my fingernail in there, and I tried to screwdriver. That was awkward. But now, if you just know how to get them apart, you just take this little part and pry it back, and this pops right out. I'm shining the light on that so you can see how those teeth, the teeth connect, and what has to happen, you've got to get your fingernail or a screwdriver into there and pop it open, and you can take that right apart. Pretty much the same as this one. And that's how that comes apart. Pretty straightforward, but if you don't know how that works, and if you don't know about those little teeth, if you're thinking this is just like a zip tie and you go cut it with pliers or something, I remember it from the first time putting a carbon fender on, of course. And like everything, if you know the little tricks, it just makes it that much easier to do this work, and you save your fingernails in the process. And this side, of course, is exactly the same. Now, what I'll do is when I take these off, I'll take a little piece of paper, a piece of tape, and mark which go on which side. Because I don't know that these, maybe they're exactly the same, but I can't really tell. No, that's a double one. So I will mark which is which, just to make it easier to put this back together. Another little trick, this wire here that goes to your traction control and ABS. This is a very expensive wire. I think Luciano paid a couple $100. If you have a problem with it or break it or stretch it, it's very delicate. You don't want to in any way disrupt it. And in fact, when we take the front wheel off, I'm always very careful you don't just put any stress on that or anything. Now there are 4 bolts that hold the fender on. They're special bolts, and in this case what we've done is being very careful about taking them out. There's special steel washers that go underneath this so that you don't damage the carbon fiber fender. And once you get the last bolt out, then I've got to wiggle and jiggle and get this thing through. And if I remember right, I have to pull those things that hold the hoses out to get it to snake through. But I don't really remember. See, this is the problem. And by the way, that's why it's good to have this on video, because I do have the video somewhere on a channel of replacing the fender. So if I really get myself in a pinch, I can go dial up that channel, replacing the fender, and there it is. I've already made my own escape hatch here, but I think I remember that. I'm not sure. We're going to find out right away. So here's what has to happen. These little pieces of the fork, you have to be up above them with this piece. And I'm not sure if I can do this without picking the bike up. I have to jack the bike up so that the forks extend down more, just to make it easier to get this out. And maybe that's going to be, I don't remember if I had to do that. Let's see, I don't want to force it, but I do have to get it high enough. And maybe this piece has to go up. All I remember is this was pretty tricky to get this to come out. I'm not sure if I can show this, but inside here, the part that this actually bolts to, you've got to get the wheel to drop down enough so that you can get that part up over it. And it is a little tricky to do that, and I'm trying not to scratch or beat up the fender for sure. But I think the last time I did it, I jacked up the bike. I got the car. Let's see if that works. Now, even with the forks fully extended, and I've got the, pretty much, they're not going to extend anymore. I'm still missing by about 1/4 of an inch that I can't pull that up over those two little parts. So the next thing I have to do, you gotta see what happens as you pick it up, you're winding up hitting this anyway. And the one part that connects the two calipers, you can't do anything about that. So the only realistic way I think I can do this is take the bolts out of one caliper. That'll do it. And I think that's how I did it the first time, but I don't remember. It's just disconnect one caliper, either one. Now this is exactly why I think the information we share on this channel is of value, because a thing like this that somebody just wanted to remove the front fender, and if you weren't aware of that little kink in the program, you could really damage the parts, or I'm sure you could force them over that. I'm not sure. But anyway, I want to take this, by having a caliper up out of the way, guaranteed this will be a piece of cake. It won't be any problem at all. And that's the kind of information I think is worth, that we have this channel to share information, and all the people on YouTube that share information like this. Boy, is it priceless, and I've used it over and over and over just to make my life a little easier. Now the trick is to remember, don't squeeze the front brake. You just make yourself a problem. And we just get that up out of the way. That's not hurting anything. This should come up now. And see, this is the thing that's the problem right here. Not the problem. And now you can get the front fender off. And that's why this channel has 10,000 subscribers. Not sure. These pieces, by the way, just pop right up. They press in and pop up. I'm not sure that's exactly the way they want you to do it, but they just do pop up. And they seem to stay in place. But they can't go anywhere because the hoses hold them down too. So anyway, that's information worth sharing if you have an MT09. Now I always make note of the tools I need, the bolts I need, and there's still 2 of these washers. They're stuck on the fender. I got to pry them up. But I wanted to lay these pieces out. And you know, the fact is they're all similar, but I don't know why. This is just a habit I have, old school, of always wanting to take the parts off and put them back in the reverse order. Just being old, I guess. Now, being old school again, I leave the tools and the parts right on the correct side of the bike. And I know that's going to be I don't want to have them in my pocket or something and lose them. And it started raining out there, so I doubt we're going to paint, but we can get this part all cleaned up, masked off and prepped. And boy, the bike looks funny without the front fender. Front fender means a lot as to the look of a bike, that's for sure. And it's all part of the styling, and it's all in the eye of the beholder. And there's always going to be somebody who likes it and somebody who thinks it's ugly. So we're ready to get inside, get another cup of coffee going. It's for sure that the day has gone down a drain here. It's really gone down a drain, in fact. Now, it's great being in and out of the cold. These washers, they were on the carbon fiber part on the fender also. When you go to put these back, what happens is there's 4 of them. They're just laying in there, and they're a little bit of a loose fit sometimes, sometimes not. And so when you put them in, you go to put the fender in, they all fall on the floor. Well, what I did, and I remember this, putting a little bit of black tape on them. I see the pieces of black tape did the job they were supposed to do. And I'll get all the hardware out of here, clean the hardware up. But you would think taking a front fender off a bike is a 5-minute job. Anything but. And when you put this back, this is thinner than the stock fender, and I'll show that. So what happens is you need to sometimes put an extra washer to get the correct, that this is tight and not loose. It's a little bit of a thing getting this into the final fit on the parts, because of course they vacuum bag this, and so around the holes you can see it's a little rough. Doesn't mean anything, but it's still a problem. If you don't know that, you tighten a bolt and this fender is loose, it's going to just chew itself all up in time. Anyway, another good little tip, I think something useful that worth sharing on our channel. The thing we do in the shop, the first step is get the part as clean, even the inside. We're not going to paint or tape or anything. Get it as clean as possible. Simple green is a good way to do it. Now this part actually, and Vlad, thank you for getting me this part. It came from God knows where, some secret aerospace company. Guys are probably making this in a back room and making a fortune on it. I don't know. But anyway, because the equipment you need to do this is serious equipment to vacuum bag parts this nice. And I know, because when Midgley and I were making parts, you could spend a fortune on vacuum bagging equipment, that's for sure. But getting this all nice and clean, number one. I don't want to scratch it. Actually, it looks like it held up pretty well. And I just want to, now that I've decided what part to mask off, I want to mask it all off. I'll also clean this with M600 also, just to make it a little bit nicer to work on and cleaner. And I don't want to, while I have paint and clear coats and everything, I don't want to have all of this stuff winding up somewhere in the paint job, somewhere on my glove, somewhere on the shop floor. And there really is no substitute for good old-fashioned soapy water. Get this final cleaned up, get it dried, and we'll be ready to backmask it. I never like to work with parts that have any grease or oil or anything on them. I like it to at least start with something clean. And of course the carbon fiber fender, because it's vacuum bagged like they would make aircraft parts and it's real resin, it's a lot lighter than the plastic fender. And of course that's in our favor. Anytime you have a carbon fiber part that's made correctly, and this is made correctly, this is beautiful stuff. And again, Vlad, thank you. And the part that came with the bike, which I didn't like from day one. Now with the carbon fiber, with that paint on, I think that's going to add one more nice little touch to the project. Now this is going to be a little tricky. This is M600. I don't really care about the parts that I'm not going to have to hit with sandpaper. I only care about the parts that I'm going to have to be painting. And so this gets a little trickier than you think it would, because I want to have nice clean edges, and I want to sand right up to the tape very carefully with some 400, but I don't want to sand over into the part that already has a beautiful finish on it. So what it's going to be is there'll be a very slight tape edge, but it's not going to be in a place that's obvious like the top of the gas tank with a seat or something. So this should be something that should be relatively easy to do. I want to get nice tape edges, and I want to sand this very, very carefully and meticulously. But unfortunately, the way this day is playing out, the weather's getting worse by the minute. I don't think we're going to get any painting done today. So I'm looking in my tape drawer. I'm thinking I really don't have any fresh tape. Now what happened when we did the FZR, I bought a bunch of this tape, and I didn't use some of it, but I don't have any of the thin anymore. See, I have very little. So obviously next time I'm at the body shop, I'm going to have to get some thin tape. I hope I have enough to do this job. Now it's on me that I didn't get any fresh tape. This looks like the freshest of the tape I have. But here's another thing. If you're going to use tape that's a year old, do this. Get rid of the first 5 feet of it or so. And it's on me, believe me. And I was over there buying paint. I should have picked up new tape. And this is really embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you drop the football, that's for sure. Okay, so I want to be I don't want to be up on the mountaintop with the paint line. I want to be just off it, maybe even a little less than 1/8 of an inch. This is going to be a little tricky to get. I don't want that either. Just see, this gets tricky. We'll see if we can get it right. I'm not sure we can. Let's see if we can get it right on the line. Again, I've had this in my mind for a long time. I just haven't really been able to lay tape out and do it the way I thought I would. Let's see how that, yeah, we can go right to the end on that. And sometimes halfway through this job you change your mind or whatever. Well, that's what this is all about anyway. Now if we leave the high end right there. Now I really should, I really should, I don't know. Yeah, I should. See, I'm trying to outsmart myself here, and it's working. I really should have that piece there. Okay, that would give me the piece and a little bit of a picture frame, 1/8 of an inch of carbon fiber around the edge. So I'm trying not to lose the fact that you would see it is a carbon fiber Fender, and I didn't just paint the original one. But that method that I showed today of just using the tape, and you can buy tape in all different colors in Lowe's, that if you had a red motorcycle or a green one or whatever. I've even seen Kawasaki green tape. Anyway, that pretty much gives us the outline that we're looking for. So my objective here is, let's see if this is going to work. I wanted to, get rid of this. I wanted to have that's going to be blue now. I think that's going to be just fine. Press down real good, get the corners with your fingernail. And all I got to do is the other side now, and I'm good to go. It's brought back a lot of memories of laying out other paint jobs that I've done, especially the FCR with when we use. I bet I had over $100 worth of tape to mask that off. And when the time I was doing it, it was in single digits in the garage. I had to reassemble the whole motorcycle. So this job is a piece of cake. Now I wanted to look at this from every angle possible, make sure it's symmetrical, make sure I haven't gotten one different than the other, one on one side different, one on the other side different. There's a lot of things can be wrong when you don't do this, you don't not paying attention or whatever. And I was real happy the way this laid out. I think this is going to work out. Now the next step on this, and I'm going to do it dry with 400 paper, is just to scuff this up. I don't need to remove a lot of material. I just need to get a good etch on it. And then I'll make me a little sanding block to get right up to the edge of the tape if I can. Very conveniently. And this, of course, the way they make these parts is they vacuum bag them so that you do get a beautiful surface out of it. And this is just one of the things that's nice about these parts. But again, I've got to make sure this is clean and etched or the paint is not going to stick. And this turned out to be a really long day and a lot of little labor and a lot of little intensive things here. And you would think if you talk to somebody, oh, I'm going to paint my front fender. Yeah, you'd be doing it in 15 minutes. Well, like everything in the world of motorcycle restoration, if you're going to do it right and you're going to get all these little details and you're going to do it to where you're happy with it, sometimes it just takes a lot more time than you really thought. Now today we didn't lose anything because it's supposed to snow tonight again, but and I do have family obligations later today. So, but the way the day played out, it was going great. Yeah, the last thing to do is to back mask this off. We're going to use the tinfoil method that Walt Prey shared with me, the late Walt Prey, many years ago, and he was one of the kings of custom cars. I think that's going to look really nice. I'm excited to see how this is going to play out. The only problem is it is pouring rain out there. We're not going to paint today. So having the back masking done, and sadly we are prisoners of the weather here, using the tinfoil method, and again, shown this so many times on the video, and a lot of my friends, including Scott, have used it successfully, and the modelers use it all the time. It's very common. But anyway, we got this ready, and I thought that was pretty much mission accomplished. have it as part, ready for the next paintable day. And that, we never know when that is in our world. So yet another unpredictable day comes to a crashing end here, and it's time now. I'm looking at this. Tomorrow we should be able to get this painted 1, 2, 3 and buff it out, and the next day put it back on the bike. And this time of year, nobody's going for a ride in this weather. And I'm so glad that snow we had last night didn't turn into, with the amount of rain we had, and it's still raining, you never have to shovel rain. That's a good way to look at it. Anyway, this is ready to paint. The weather is not my best friend today, but it doesn't matter. I'll sleep well knowing this is ready to go. And I'm done in time. It's my turn to take Miles to his swim lesson. This is Miles' swim lesson here today. He's going to show us the backstroke. How cold is the water? Looks cold to me. What happens? There's no more stairs down there, huh? Poor baby. Come on, let's see you go. One thing you have to know is I can't swim at all. You ready to give me swimming lessons, Miles? He is just like a fish. This is in the high school right across from our house. Pretty nice place. Great for the kids. And Miles gets his swim lessons here. Well, today really played out a little different than we originally planned, and we do try to post up the adventures that go on in my family every day. If you're new to the channel, we always have some personal stuff. We always have some information I think that's worth sharing, and we always have some adventure that we didn't plan on, like the weather today, like snow at night, rain in the morning. It's supposed to snow again tonight. You never know. But working on the MT09 has taken on a life of its own. It's become an adventure unto itself, and I really am excited about the way it's progressing, and I think in the end I'm going to be really happy with the final result. So if you enjoyed the video, I hope you share it with your friends, and of course I hope most of all that we'll see you tomorrow, and thanks again for watching.